Good evening. Welcome back. Happy New Year. Are we still even allowed to say Happy New Year? What point in January do you say enough's enough? We can't say Happy New Year anymore. Evening, everybody. We're just getting everybody into the live and then we'll get going. So welcome wherever you're joining, YouTube, LinkedIn, my profile, wherever you are. Do say hello in the chat. We're going to start in a couple of minutes and we're going to talk about some principles and how you apply them to really grow and scale out your business. Whether you're a sales rep, solopreneur, it does not matter because we're all in the same game here. We are trying to convince human beings that they need us. They need our help. So that's what we're going to be covering. Everything is going to be grounded in practicality. So we are going to be very practical about what we're doing. I'm just going to say hello to some people in the chat. So hello, Lee. Hello, Bobby. We've got Christine. We got Michael. We got Jane. We got Paul. So welcome, everybody. We are going to kickstart. And just whilst we're waiting for all the lives to kick in and sync up, I want to tell you a little bit about my journey with social selling, because I think it will help you understand the context. So I am not, in fact, I don't know whether to save this actually, because it gives some context to social selling, but I am probably the worst cold caller you will ever meet, because I'm so thin-skinned, I just don't want to do it. So I've been in this social selling world since social began, because I foolishly took sales jobs, even though I was rubbish at cold calling. So I had to find other ways. And I'm going to show you some practical ways that don't make you feel dirty and grubby on the inside whilst you're doing it. And to give you some context, I started my business as a solopreneur. So I started on my own. There was no small loan of $1 million. There was no big venture capital. There was no, oh, my parents just helped out and dropped 100 grand. There was none of that. It was me bootstrapping the business. And we've bootstrapped it for 10 years. We got 50 people in our team. We train all over the world, big companies, small companies, online, in person. And we've done it through social selling. You're here because of our social activity and inviting our network to come to events. So that's why we're here. That's what we're going to look at. And somebody in the chat earlier said, how do you forecast for exploding revenue? It's a really good question. I'm going to show you. And the more you implement social selling, the more effective you become, the more results you get, and the more predictable it can be. So I think we're good to go now. I think all the lives are synced up and ready to roll. I've got 3 screens here. So I've got the screen in front of me where you are. I've got my LinkedIn screen here to do some demos and show you some stuff. And I've got the chat. So if you see me going like this, I'm not bowing and to you all the time. I've got 3 screens to show you stuff, show you what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen here. We'll kickstart. There is a chat here, so do actively participate in the chat. I will flick to the chat at various different times, and Jack on our team here will flag some questions and we'll put some up on the screen. So do ask questions. That would be awesome for you to ask questions. So let's kickstart this. Right. So this is what we're going to do. I'll just give you an intro to who I am so you know who I am. So I'm Dean. That's barcode there. There's no big sales pitch. I'm not going to tell you a massive sob story or all that annoying stuff that happens in webinars. Just want to give you some context. So I founded Maverick, then Maverick, in 2013. I started as a solopreneur and a marketing consultant, solopreneur marketing consultant. I do social media posts. I do copywriting. I do all this different stuff on my own. Not a great cold caller, as I said. I was a bit rubbish, to be honest with you. And I built Maverick with the team, 50 people. We've got 3 offices in the UK, 1 in the US. No venture capital, no small loan of $1 million, you know, all of that stuff. No even small loan of £1 or $1. Golden rule, and this is a principle for me, and I'm just going to say this. There's so many people teaching people how to do things that they've never done themselves. So I've got a golden rule that I won't teach what I haven't done, and I won't preach what I don't practice. And I live by that rule. And last year, LinkedIn recognized me as a sales influencer on LinkedIn. So they published an article about me and put it up on their blog. So I brag about that naturally, because that's the way the world works now. Anyway, so do feel free to come follow me, come find me. If there's things I don't answer, questions I don't answer tonight, it's not because I don't like you. It's just because I didn't get to it or I didn't see it. But feel free to come follow me on LinkedIn, drop me a message on LinkedIn and ask any question you like. I want to help, and I want to explain why this we do what we do, because we have a theory behind it. Obviously, we know what we're doing. You go to Trustpilot, go to any of our reviews, you'll see that we know what we're doing. But I want to kind of just explain why we do these things. So we do these webinars. There's no big countdown. There's no big anything. It's genuine training we're going to give you. And here's the catch. If you get value from this, go follow our page. If you get value from this, tell somebody else. If you get stuck and need somebody to help you, come back. That's our principle. We'll give you a ton of help. We'll do it for free, but just be either a goodwill ambassador for us if you get value, or if you need help, come back to us and check out what we can do in the services we can offer. That's it. So there's no big like countdown. It's now dropped for $2.99. We're not, what's it called? What's the shopping channel called? QVC. Yeah. We've got 49 of these. It's not what we do. It's not what we're about. So our mission as a business, just so that you're aware of this, we have a passion and a purpose, and it's to equip 1 million businesses to get clients, grow faster, and spend less time selling. So that's what we're about. We do this with sales teams, solopreneurs, small business. It does not matter. This is what we're about. So hopefully you're getting the vibe of what we're all about. So hi from Lisbon. And Scott's there. Hi, Scott. Danny, awesome to have you here. So let's just get started. I'm just going to tell you what we're going to do. So we work with salespeople, business owners, all sorts of different people. I can tell you now the top 1% of social sellers, and we talk to a lot of social sellers, practice these laws. Do they call them in the same way as I do? Probably not. They've got their own way of explaining it. But what I've done is collated some rules, collated some things that if you adapt and apply these, one, you're going to be more successful in getting in touch with prospects. It takes currently 18, on average, 18 dials to actually talk to a prospect. That's the average. That's the average these days. So if you're doing better than that, well done. But if you're doing worse than that, it's tough. Social selling is not a replacement. It's another way to reach some people. And I emphasize some people. You can't reach everybody with social selling. It's not the silver bullet, but it is a chunk of the pie that can be useful. And if you've got a big enough target client base, if you're selling windmills to nuclear power stations, social selling may not necessarily be for you because your audience or your market will be tiny. But if you can say there's 10, 20,000 potential customers or that kind of size, social selling can be useful. Maybe that's an over-egged, but you've got to have a good chunk. But there's a percentage of your target audience that will not be on LinkedIn, will not be active on LinkedIn. They might have logged in 10 years ago and never since. What we call zombies. You can't make bricks without straw, right? So it's important that this methodology I'm going to show you, these laws will help you, but only with the people who are there. If you, and the reason why I say this is So many people are targeting people who are not on the platform. They've got an account that's never been logged into for the last 3 months or 6 months or 10 years, and they're targeting them. It's stupidity. You focus on who's there, who you can get to, and who you can engage and get a positive result. So there is some intelligence, some wisdom that is needed to be in that top 1% of social sellers. So it's not replacing it, because there are people who aren't on LinkedIn. Believe it or not, there are people who aren't on LinkedIn, and you can use other channels to reach them. But for the people who are, this strategy will get you more conversations, more first calls or discovery meetings, and more relationships unlocked. And I'm going to show you them today. So remember, do ask lots of questions. Hi, Tim from Kidderminster. So here's the laws. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain it. I'm going to apply it. And then I'm going to show you the difference it makes. Why do this over other things? So I'm going to explain it. I'm going to apply it. So I'll pull up LinkedIn and I'll show you how I apply this law. And I will give you some examples. And then I'll show you why this makes a difference. So here's the laws. We're going to go through some we're going to just touch on, and some we're going to kind of really dig in deep. So one of the big ones that we're going to dig in deep with is law 3. And we're going to engage with, which one? Leverage the breadcrumbs, law 6. We're going to go really deep on those, because there's some powerful tools that will get you a lot of quick wins. So it's really important. We'll go deep on them. And we'll touch on the others. So that's what we're going to do. Ask questions in the chat. Feel free to dig in. I'm going to kickstart this now. So please do have notepads and pens ready. If you need to get a replay of this, please drop us a line. I'll leave my email on screen. So if you've got questions as well, you can come back to us and ask more questions. So I'm going to show principle, action, implement. So it's not going to be theory. It's actually something you can do as well. So first law is surgical, not sledgehammer. Now, I'll give you an example of why this is important, right? A lot of people approach LinkedIn and social selling, and they approach it as if it's just a numbers game. And sales is a revenue numbers game, but it's not just a pitch game. And what happens is people go over the top on LinkedIn, on social media, trying to sell, and they put people off. They annoy people, and instead of going for quality, they go quantity. And we're seeing this more and more. And I had a conversation with somebody on LinkedIn, and I said, the problem is people want maximum return for the least amount of effort. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's going further than that now. People want maximum return for the least amount of skill. And what's happening is we're creating a very noisy, crowded place. So if you look in your email inbox, you look in your LinkedIn inbox, you will see you are bombarded with people saying, hey, buy my stuff. Hey, buy my stuff. So if we're sledgehammering it, we're literally genericizing everything we do. And what happens is we lose relevance, we lose the potency of what we're doing, and we lose the ability to convince somebody to talk to us. The other thing I've seen is people automating sales pitches. Now, it sounds very attractive, very alluring. The problem comes that when you automate sales pitches, LinkedIn's inbox, to be fair, is not very good. And I've replied to people who've pitched me and said I'm interested, just to see how long it takes them to respond. And sometimes it can take them days. That's because they're firing out so many messages, they get lost. So it's important to think, instead of thinking about it as I've got thousands of prospects to reach and I want to get a lead, that sledgehammer strategy it seems very popular right now, and I'm saying something that's counter to the way things are going with technology. It's actually going to ruin this volume pitching because the relevance, potency, and personalization is not high enough. We can spot templates, we can spot people doing the same thing. So, what you have is a lot of noise. And what I'm saying with surgical, really thought through approaches, you can create a very strong signal and cut through all of it by being relevant, targeted, and focused. Literally 5 minutes before I started this, I had somebody connect with me who is an appointment setting lead generation business. I thought I'll accept and see what happens. Within 15 minutes, they'd sent me a sales pitch saying, "Do you want to get more clients?" Didn't read my profile, just used the sales navigator criterias to find me without being focused at all. And it's stupidity. The scary thing is some people are going to bite on him and hire him when he can't even get his own messages right. Think about it. It's nuts. So surgical, not sledgehammer. So by this, I mean, let me just show you, and I'll switch to LinkedIn. And I encourage you, Sales Navigator is really important for this. This is not just about going onto LinkedIn and going, who's a managing director? It's about drilling into all of these features and then going, managing director. Okay. I want managing directors of companies in the UK. I'm just going to pick the UK for here. Oh, United Kingdom. So we look here and go, managing director in the United Kingdom. And I'll tell you exactly what this person did to me because they're sledgehammer, not surgical. They're not focused. They're not researched. They're not targeted. So they do this. Yeah. And so what they do is they start pitching and say, hey, you're in the coaching industry. I can help you. That's just pathetic. It's not focused. And you can tell when somebody does that. I can tell when somebody does that. It's poor. It's really poor. But when you start to focus, when you start to really understand the audience you're going after, you can actually have a far better conversion rate of meetings if you do what I show you in tonight's session. So instead of going, I've got to get 500 messages out or 300 messages out to get a bite, and the industry average right now, the industry average is if you send 100 prospects 4 messages, you'll get 3 bites. That's people saying they're interested. Of that, 1 will ghost you, 1 will come to the call, and 1 won't show up. So the potential is from pestering and annoying 100 people, you might get 1 good call out of it. Some people on this live are going to go, that's not bad odds. And this is not about gambling. This is about predictably getting calls booked in the diary. It's predictably getting people in the diary. Now, if I practice true social selling on those 100 people, I might do the same amount of interactions, less pitches, but I'll actually get more like 10 to 15 people out of 100 on calls. 10 to 15 out of 100 on calls. Depending on the industry, some of the more technical decision makers, so your finance directors and your CISOs, chief information security, IT directors are a little more tough than that, so it'll be lower. And then some of your more creative, so entrepreneurs, marketing, CEOs, they're a bit better. So basically, it's harder to get your analytical types on calls than it is your creative types. They're easier to talk to and easier to engage. So it's not impossible. It just means the success rate still damn better than doing the industry, the trend of just pitching anybody blind. That's the difference. So when we're targeting people on Sales Navigator, what we need to do is really dig in and go, okay, let's create a list of 25 people that we've looked at. We know they're active on the platform. So there's a number of features we can do. We're going to come to that in one of the laws later, and focus in on 25 people and really build relationships. And you'll unlock more meetings from doing that than you will all the other things. So I'll give you one example. I work with a couple of stock market listed companies. We approached this on one of their customers that had one of their potential customers that had ghosted them on email and ghosted them on calls. Did this strategy and implemented what I'm going to share with you tonight. They implemented it. Guess what? There was a call in the diary. Why? Because relationships make the difference. In the inbox, if they know your name, they will respond. And let's be honest, you do it, I do it. We look at our inboxes, our email inbox and our direct message inbox, and we triage it. We triage it by, do I know and recognize that name? If I do, I'll look. And then it's secondary to that is subject line. Does the subject line make a difference? So you can try and make the most creative message, but if we're all triaging our inbox and not paying much attention to it, then pretty much it's about whose name do we recognize? And that's what social selling is all about. It's about creating the difference by you being different, you being a relationship-driven person to unlock those relationships. So number one, you've got to be surgical. Focus on a group of people that are on the platform. We'll look at that in a bit. On the breadcrumbs, on the platform that are in a specific market that you know you can serve, and drill into them and work on them diligently, and it will yield a better result. If you're sending LinkedIn's rules, unofficial rules, you can send about 100 to 150 messages per day. So if you're running 5 days a week, you could send potentially, my maths won't keep up with me there, but it's 750 messages tops per week. That means you can just reach almost, if you pestered enough people, you could potentially reach over a month, over a month, you could probably hit up cold, maybe 600-700 people with multiple messages. And if you do that, you might get out of that, with 600 messages, you might get 6 meetings. If you follow this strategy, you target 100 people on the platform, really focused, you'll get 15 comfortably, maybe a little less if you're targeting the more analytical roles, but definitely if you're targeting the more CEO, those kind of roles. So law number one, surgical, not sledgehammer. So why does it matter? If you follow this process, you will get more meetings by being focused and clear and targeted than you will firing out with a very basic Sales Navigator search. So go through the list, look, save them, right? When you save a lead on Sales Navigator, when you save them here, it populates a home feed. So in this home feed, you will have a list here. This is my test sales nav. You'll have a list here of all of the things that your leads have been up to. And you can see them here. And every lead that you save, it will show you in here. So be focused. Pick the right people. I've seen people save 1,000 people into their lead list on Sales Navigator, and they do nothing with it. If you've got 100 people saved in here, LinkedIn will say, hey, your prospect's talking on LinkedIn. Your prospect's just done this. Your prospect's just done that. You can be in the middle of that world without harassing them and get to know them, as we call it, prime them. We'll look at that and engage with them in that way. So focus on a small number of people and really go deep with them. So 100, 150 people you could save in here, and then you work those people through. So surgical, not sledgehammer. Sledgehammer is just simply, I'm just going to pitch a load of people, and if something comes, basically it's the culture of, I want easy wins and only easy wins. I'm not going to work for anything. And so what happens is a lot of the best opportunities you miss because you weren't prepared to put in the work. And you've received this. You've been annoyed by it. The only people who don't get annoyed by it are people like you, me, and salespeople, because it's like, that's what we do. And we give ourselves a little bit of slack. But most of our prospects just ignore it. They just ignore it. They're not interested in it. So we've trained through all of these poor pitches. We've trained our prospects collectively, because I've done it before in the past. We trained our prospects to ignore us and just triage every piece of communication they get. We're even seeing it in content now. Anything that looks like an ad, if you do a professional piece of content with a beautiful video, a lot of people will scroll past it just because it looks too slick. It's got to be an ad. So number one, right. Number two. So profiles are people, right? I want to remind you of this for two reasons. Profiles are people, right? LinkedIn social selling is not like email. It's nothing like email. LinkedIn and social selling is more like being in a room with a person. So when you communicate, when you produce content, when you send messages, it should feel like a conversation. It shouldn't feel like an email. It shouldn't feel like a formal, hello, nice to meet you. But look at what people do. Dear Dean, hi Dean. We would never talk like that in real life. We talk in shorter sentences. We're more straight to the point. It's more back and forth conversational. But what happens is we just see like a profile and we miss that. Hang on a minute. My job is to make this person curious. So, right, if you're producing posts, I'll just flick to LinkedIn so you can see it. If you're producing posts on LinkedIn, number one, let's just get me off there. Oh, it's because I'm broadcasting, right? Number one, when you're producing a post, let me get past that. Write it like you'd speak. Really simple way to talk. You don't need to waffle on. Keep your language day to day straightforward. Same in messages. You don't need to write it and structure it like an email. Just write it how you think. People, profiles are people. If you start being formal, people will mirror you. Be casual and relaxed. I've had tons of conversations with C-level decision makers in big organizations where I've never said hi. I've never said thank you and the spaces and signed off with my signature. I've just chatted to them. Sometimes I've never even used their first name because you'd never do it in a conversation. So what you up to tonight, Dean? Would you come? You just don't do it. So what I'm saying here is treat the profile like a person and a person you're in conversation with face to face, not screen to screen or email to email. Treat it like a conversation. So the next time you write a message, write it like you would a WhatsApp message or you'd have a conversation. You're not cool dude and it's like, hey man, how you doing? That's weird. Just like have a conversation. If you met a complete stranger at an event, how would you start the conversation? You wouldn't say, do you want to buy my stuff? You'd have a conversation back and forth and you'd build up some rapport and then you'd start to talk turkey eventually at some point. But you wouldn't do it in the same conversation. You wouldn't try and twist the conversation from this to that. You'd take people on a journey. I'm going to have a look at the questions now for a minute just to see what people are saying. So let's have a look here. So let's have a look here. So we've got Tim Price. So Sales Navigator is mandatory for the process. Yes. Sales Navigator is the only way to focus. It's the only way to target what you're doing. The downside of not using Sales Navigator is LinkedIn will provide a search, but you can't filter down by things like, and I'll just share my screen. Let me find it. Spotlights. People have posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. Now, is that all the active users? No, but it gives you a straightforward list of these people have been here in the last month. When you're on premium or free, guess what? You can't find those people as easily, and you could end up hunting around for ages, whereas this will help you. I'm going to show you some other things about Sales Navigator that's going to help you as we go as well. Let's have a look at some other questions here. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. See. So Joe said, I hate any of accepting any new LinkedIn invites because it's a sales pitch straight away. So think about it. If Joe's saying this in the chat, if he's saying this, your prospects are thinking it. Who is this person? Who is this person that's trying to connect with me? What do they want? And so I'm going to show you some things you can do to make that connection request more acceptable. But also think about your own profile. We've got loads of sessions on this, but just briefly here. Does your profile make you look like a human being? Do you look friendly? Do you look like a sales rep? Yeah. When you send a connection request to somebody, when you post, people come look at your profile before they respond, before they accept and go, is this a salesperson? And is this a salesperson I'm prepared to accept? So look friendly, sort out your banner, put some content out there that makes you look like a human being and not a sales machine. Look like a human being yourself. Take a long, hard look. Some salespeople have said to me, I'm not here to be nice. I'm here to close deals. And I'm like, well, you're not going to do it with that attitude. The relationships are the only way to get a deal across the line. And you either cold pitch somebody, make a success of that, be the one in 400 messages that works. And then you have to build a relationship. If you cold pitch people, you have to build a relationship, either after it or before it. With social selling, you build up the relationship before. With cold pitching, you try and do it afterwards and hope it works. What we're trying to do is give ourselves an advantage at the connection point, give ourselves an advantage all the way through the process so that you get more calls, you get connected to more people, and you get more decent conversations. So it starts with being focused and targeted and surgical. And then we move to the key bits, which is obviously remembering that people are profiles. So we'll keep coming back to the chat. I'll just have another look now just to see if there's any more questions. My chat is really small, so apologies if my eyesight I look like let me just see if I can zoom in a little bit. So let's have a look at the chat. So somebody's just asked a question here about where is it? Tim Price. So Sales Navigator is mandatory. Yeah. Carol Edwards. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Yep. So let's move on to number 3, which is one I want to really focus on, which is engagement, right? How do you warm up a prospect? And this is what law number 3 is. It's an antifreeze, right? If cold pitching is just connect and pitch or DM people out of the blue saying, hey, do you want my stuff? It's really poor. It's not very effective. Engagement is antifreeze. So instead of cold pitching, engage with your prospects to improve the success rate of your connection requests, to increase the results of the conversations. If you engage with somebody, let me give you this stat. This is crazy, right? And the problem is, I'm just going to be straight down the barrel, and I don't know whether we can flick my screen off. I'm going to be straight down the barrel. Some people know this, but they don't do it because they're afraid if they invest the time, it will fail and they'll have wasted time. Some people don't do this because they're not organized enough. And sadly, in the sales world, in the sales industry, organizational skills is a weak point. And so some people will not do what I'm going to say now simply because they'll be afraid to fail or they're not organized enough. So if you engage with somebody, like and comment, not just like, because likes can get lost. Comment, and not great post, thanks for sharing, something meaningful. Twice before the connection request, you will increase your connection acceptance rate over 50%, more than 50%, by engaging twice, not on the same day, by the way, over a 3 or 4 days. If you do that before you connect, your connection rate goes up through the roof. And bear in mind, that's the metric that everything else follows. So if you get more connections, you got more people to engage with, more people to talk to, more meetings at the end. So twice, if you engage twice before you connect. And then if you send a message with your connection request, referencing the post you engage with, it goes up even more. So twice engage before, in the 3 or 4 days beforehand, send the connection request. Hope you're taking notes here, but reference the post that you commented, and not in a will. I saw your post the other day. It's like, really thought that thing on ChatGPT was good. Thought I'd connect. Goes up again from 50% upwards. So there's engagement is antifreeze. Now here's the bit that everybody's afraid to do. If you engage with somebody, like, comment, interact, share some DM back and forth. If you interact with somebody 10 times, so that's like and comment, that's reply to a thank you message, it's share something that you've seen, it's all those kind of interactions that are not salesy, and you do that 10 times. Now, some people go, 10 times, I'm not wasting that time on a prospect. More fool you. 10 times, the likelihood of a meeting goes over 50%. 50%, 10 times. And I'm not meaning pitch. I'm meaning no pitch. Engage. And then you ask, hey, could I grab 15 minutes of your diary? I want to talk to you about this. Guess what? You get over 50% of the meetings. Problem is, nobody's prepared to engage 10 times. Most people won't. We have a team of people, and we don't sell this service like in this way. I'm just giving it as a reference point. We have a team of people that works with corporates, and we help them do that 10 times engagement, and they get really big, good conversations with the right people because they're doing that work. They're breaking that down. But most people will not do the 10 times. Most people will give up after 2. Most people will get too trigger happy that they'll want to pitch at 3. So I'm not saying you have to do everything at 10 times. There is an effort to reward ratio, but we talk about very often the 7 steps. 7 steps. On average, the sales industry is something like, across all channels, it's 8.5 touch points to actually get to a meeting. And if you do it 10, it's massively successful with social selling, because you're building a relationship and using the relationship to open the door rather than the value of how good you can write a sales pitch, or how well you can write a subject line, or how well your message copywriting skills are. It becomes about the relationship rather than your technical ability or your skill at writing a message that convinces people to go on a call. You all still with me? You all still with me? You're not, none of you fallen asleep here, right? Hopefully I'm not too boring. That's where you go in the chat and say, no, not boring, Dean. Or you just sit there quiet because you're being rude. I don't know. So connect before you need to. You get 100 connection requests. You get 100 connection requests you can use every week. Use them. Use them every week. You don't need 100 prospects every week. You don't need them, but you should use them. Why? Because if you're consistently posting content, you'll pop up in their feed every now and then. I had somebody in my network for 4 years. 4 years. They jumped in, they saw a post, they engaged with me, they interacted, DM'd me inbound that I'd been connected for 4 years, just sharing content. Within 3 months, they had dropped £200,000 worth of business with me because I had been connected before I needed to. Many people will approach sales like connect, pitch, connect, pitch. They're looking down right in front of themselves. Go connect with all of your targets, as many as you can, every single week, so they're there. So you've got a lot of relationships you can work on in the future, but you've nurtured them a little bit through content, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So I'll brush on this one, but you've got 100 connection requests. Use the strategy of engagement is antifreeze to get the maximum benefit of those connections every single week. Tip here for you, go after the second degree first, because third degree connections have less likelihood of connecting. So if you grow your second, add seconds, your prospects who are seconds, who are active, naturally, some of those thirds become seconds. Does that make sense for everybody? Yeah, makes sense for everybody? So, okay, nurture your prospects with content. I'm gonna Tim Price sacrificed the one show. I think you got a great deal, Tim, to be honest with you. They're pretty boring, the one show. Don't reply to that, Tim. Do not reply. Nurture your prospects with content. So just on this note of the content piece, if you're putting out a couple of posts a week and you're giving value, I don't mean content pitch slap. I mean, putting something out that's interesting and insightful for your targets. They will pay attention to it. They will bite on it. They will engage on it. They will pay attention. I do a lot of content and I offer a lot of value because I'm not interested in people who want to do it themselves. I want to help the people who do it themselves. I can't sell to somebody who doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to have my solution. So I will give me lots of advice, lots of help to people. Some people will go and use it and go, wow, that was great. I enjoyed that. They will tell and recommend other people. Some people will get stuck, and so they'll come back to me for help. And some people are what we call lurkers, who are just watching. A lot of your prospects that you're connecting with will just lurk. They'll see you, they'll see what you're doing, they'll see that you're not doing content pitch slaps, and they will see that, oh, you're offering interesting stuff, and they get to know you. I put personal stuff on LinkedIn, not every day. Why? Because I want people to know who I am, what I'm about, a little bit about me, so that when we have a conversation, it's like, I kind of like Dean already. And if they don't like me, they won't respond to me. They won't engage with me because I'm not their cup of tea. That's just simple. And that applies whether you're a salesperson. If you annoy somebody in the first bit of the interaction, it's going to be really difficult for you to close that deal, because if they don't warm to you, it's not going to happen. So content can help you filter people who get to know you, build a little bit of awareness, and you'll be surprised how many prospects will go, yeah, I see your stuff on LinkedIn. So it's another way to nurture people, but it's not about promo. In fact, 80% of your content on LinkedIn should not be promo. It should be insightful, sharing something that's relevant. It should be talking about stuff that's going on in your world, giving some actionable and educational information. That's what it should be, helpful stuff. So it helps nurture your audience a little bit more. Glory has asked a question. What's a good one, opening conversational. So what I tend to do is if you're trying to engage with somebody, um, look at what the point of pivot is. How can you pivot the conversation? How can you start something going? So longer comments generally get better responses, but not preachy comments. So you want to be kind of sat on the fence a little bit. So you go, this is a really great strategy, Dean, for this one. This is a great idea. Lots of good tips here, Dean. How would you approach it for this type of industry? Or you're just creating discussion, engaging with people, not great post, thanks for sharing, but something like, this is really good, Dean. How would you apply this to this? Or I've seen a lot of people talking about this. What's your take on it? And you're asking people your opinions, but you don't approach it with a preachy tone because people will be on the defensive. You approach it with a conversational, like, I saw this post, but I wasn't sure how to respond to it because I saw another post that was about this. What's your take? And it's that kind of discussion. It's really low key, really relaxed. Andrea, what's the percentage between personal and business? So you don't want to look like unprofessional. So there is obviously a bar of what we talk about personally. So it's nice stuff, it's positive stuff, it's human stuff. But I would say I do 5 posts a week, one every day. I do more than that, but that's the core of what I do. I will do one very personal piece of content each week because I think otherwise it can look like a bit too self-promotional or a bit too me. Some people will put selfies on every single day, and I couldn't do that. I'm not that photogenic either, but I couldn't do that. So that kind of mix. I always encourage you, if you're doing something that's non-businessy, try and do 50% non-businessy. So it could be something that's happening in the world. It could be something that's happened recently. It could be you sharing something you thought was interesting, a book review or something you're doing, but it's not personal. And then 50% is more about what you're doing in the company, teaching actionable things that are helpful around the topics and industries that you serve. Gloria, there's nothing wrong with one post being out and out. This is what I do. This is how I help people. There's nothing wrong with that. It can actually be helpful so that people can understand, this is what Gloria is about. This is what she does. So I'm not saying get rid of all your promo, but 1 out of 5 or 80% should not be promotional. But if you're giving people tips on the real estate industry, if you're giving people, this is what's going on in the real estate, they are going to naturally go, this is what Gloria does. And I showed this in one of our content challenges earlier this week, where I said, somebody's post went up and went viral. I taught them how to do a post and it went viral. And I said, right, look at what's happened to your profile. And even though the post had no promotions in it, they were getting inbound messages from people. And their profile views went up by 500% because people who see content and go, this is interesting. Who made this? And they look and review your profile. When you send a connection request, people look and view your profile. So they already know who you are. And when you send a DM, they look and see who your profile is before they decide to respond. So the weird bit is people feel they have to explain themselves in posts and DMs and go on and on and on, when actually everybody's looked at the profile first. The majority of people look at the profile first. So, Christos, personal page. Company pages are not for social selling. They are a marketing tool. They are more corporate, more slick, more professional. All sales, pretty much 90% of sales are done through profiles. It's not about the page. The page is there to build brand, to build strong messaging, and you can do things like we're doing now, events through the page, but fundamentally, profiles is where relationships are built. Profiles is where opportunities are created. Just like, for an example, if you think about this in the real world, yeah, salespeople create opportunities. They do what they do. They use their skill set to engage people and create relationships and open up opportunities. Marketing departments send out emails, grow lists. They do everything that's impersonal, more literally. Salespeople, it's one-to-one. Marketing, it's one-to-many. And what's happened over the last few years is salespeople have thought, actually, what I need to do is one-to-many, when actually the selling skills is one-to-one. That's what selling skills are, one-to-one. That's where a salesperson is effective. That's where you build relationship, trust, and create opportunity. Marketing's one-to-many. So marketing might produce a blog or a newsletter. It goes out there. It interests people. They get curious. And so they click the link and book a call with a salesperson who finds out their needs, their challenges, and tailors the opportunity, tailors their pitch to the needs of the prospect. Ashley's asked a really good question. I don't know whether we can put it on screen, actually. Ashley's asked a very good question about how many hours a day do you recommend carving out? So our team who work with our corporate clients, they spend roughly about an hour and a half per day manually engaging with prospects, talking to prospects back and forth on the platform. An hour and a half each day. Now that sounds, if that's not a lot of time. When you first get started, it's actually a bit more than that because you're getting used to it. It's a bit tricky to write comments. 2-3 months in, you can write comments with your eyes closed because you've practiced it and you've built up your muscles for commenting and interacting. And you've done so many that you actually have the skill set to do it. I need to move forward a little bit because what's the ideal number of calls you would make in one day, or calls you would generate in one day, right? So if you're working on 25 prospects a week, yeah, our team would be looking for 4 or 5 actual show up calls per week per client out of 25. Yeah, you can work on more, but the key thing then is organization. 25 per week, and we want to get 3, 4, 5 of them into confirmed calls per week. You can work on more, of course. Just one thing I'm going to say here, be very careful with what the industry now calls setters. Setters are effectively VAs who pitch for you. The problem is it can damage your brand and it can damage your credibility. Now, if you're serving an audience of 5 million people, maybe you don't care. Maybe you don't care if people are getting annoyed at your pitches. But I've seen where situations where people have hired a setter for £500 a month, £1,000 a month, and what happens is they just spam. And what happens is the setter's account gets restricted or banned, so you have to get another setter. But what happens is it's just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. And it's done remotely, so you're at arm's length, so it doesn't harm your account. But at some point, somebody's going to call you out for it. And LinkedIn is getting more about that, where people are saying, I'm sick of hearing from this company. They're pestering me. So just be aware that you want to try and make sure that you're actually selling, not spamming. You're using skill. You're not just slapping people, throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's not a sustainable way to do it. So I want to speed up a little bit because we've got a few things to go through. Law 4, connect before you need to. Yeah, use your connections. Nurture your prospects with content. Now, this bit here, I want to spend a bit of time. This is the juicy bit, right? This is the juicy bit. And you'll get very excited by this bit. Everybody gets excited by this because Sales Navigator suddenly comes into its own. If most people on LinkedIn, hopefully you're not doing this, but most people on LinkedIn are engaging with funny content, something they've seen that they enjoyed, friends, colleagues, and they're spending their time liking stuff that adds nothing to their business. It might give them a warm and fuzzy feeling. It might be a cat video. It might be a friend you used to know and you're engaging with it. That's for Facebook. LinkedIn's about engaging with decision makers and people who add something to your business. When you start to use Sales Navigator, there are various settings it asks you to set up, filters that it wants you to go through. So in Sales Navigator, when you set it up, it will show you a whole load of things that it wants you to set up. And once you start to set those up and you've signed up for Sales Navigator will learn machine learning who is most interested in what you do. So they have an algorithm, an AI machine learned algorithm that looks at you, what you do, who you've engaged with, who your sales preferences are, who you've been researching, who your leads are, who you've saved in here. So if you're the salesperson who's got 1,000 leads in here, you need to clear it out, start afresh, really focused, because then Sales Navigator goes, Dean likes this company. And I can see that this company's similar to that company and they're really interested in Dean. And so what Sales Navigator will do, and this is what we talk about with breadcrumbs, is Sales Navigator will track what people are doing and tell you this person is interested in you. Relatively new feature. Most people aren't aware of it. So here we go. I go into leads and on Sales Navigator, here's the list of recently accepted connections and emails. Here's new executives at saved accounts, which it's auto-generating. And here's all the recommended leads. And LinkedIn will give me 100 recommended leads, people who are showing interest in me and topics about what I talk about. So it's not saying specifically, Dean, they're really interested in you, but they're interested in what you do and what you talk about. And some of them will have paid attention to you. 100 of them every week it gives you. I wonder why LinkedIn has given you 100 potential leads every week. Maybe it's because you've got 100 connection requests. So every week, LinkedIn will show you fresh 100 people who are showing interest in you. What should you be doing with them? Going engaging with them, going connecting with them, getting conversations with them, and getting them on calls. And on the call, you can find their need. If they fit your criteria, if they fit your surgical parameters, you can engage with them and get them on a call. And I want to tackle something here because I see this real trend and it doesn't make sense whatsoever. If you've got a service to offer, a lot of people will pitch and say, this is what we do. Are you interested? That's not selling. That's low-hanging fruit finding. The art of selling is getting on a call, asking questions, understanding the person that I'm meeting, and finding the opportunity. If I went and pitched a load of people and say, do you want to learn how to sell on social media? I will get a very low response. But if I get on a call with somebody and say, oh, it's really nice to meet you. So how do you sell? Where do your leads come from? Oh, right. And how successful? What's your conversion rate? Oh, we don't really. Would it be worthwhile me showing you how we do it? How we help people do this and get more conversations and more meetings? Would it be worth doing? Oh, yeah, I'll have a look. And then you go, is that of interest? Is something like that? Yeah. Would it be worth a proposal? That's selling. But what a lot of people do is they pitch slap people and say, I'm going to filter people out. I'm going to find the interested people. I did an article about this earlier this week. So message me because I did a whole article about it to explain how that's a flawed strategy. You should get on a call and uncover the opportunity because a lot of people will have a need, but because of the way you communicate, trying to qualify people in a DM, which is madness, you're just not going to get to the point. You have to create the opportunity and find the opportunity in a call. So breadcrumbs. So you can see here, I've got a list of 100 people that LinkedIn. This is so Bobby, the reason it shows no activity is because this is my list this week. This is my list this week, and I've not done anything with these guys because I've got enough to go on. So this guy is showing interest in me, and I messaged him. So the activity here is on people I've engaged with or not engaged with. So these are mostly seconds. So these are new people to me. So when you engage with them, when you interact with them, it will show more messages and more activity. So that's why it's showing no activity there. So every week it will give you 100, right? But let's go one step further. So with the breadcrumbs here, we go into accounts, and this is all the accounts that we've saved. And when I go into discover new accounts, LinkedIn is now showing me the people who have got high buying intent towards Maverick, my company. So it's saying, Dean, these companies, according to your criteria, these people are interested in you, massively interested in you. And it shows me a whole list of people here saying dynamic mobile billing, Victoria is a potential lead for you based on my criteria. But these companies are looking at what you're up to. They're watching what you're up to. Yes. Corey, I think it's Corey. Sorry, the lead list changes every single week. So if you want to keep working on these, you have to move them. So you select them and save them into another list, because next week this list will be different. But let's go one step further. You can upload a list of people to LinkedIn. You can upload a list up to 1,000, and LinkedIn will score them saying these are the ones that are really interested. And if that chops and changes, it will show you. So LinkedIn will score lists you've got on your CRM so that you can work on them on LinkedIn. Breadcrumbs. LinkedIn's giving you clues and giving you tips about, hey, focus your energy here. Focus it here. These people are right. They've spent billions building this system on machine learning. But the problem is, if we don't use it, don't take it seriously, that machine learning can't learn, can't get better, can't get smarter, and can't give us more interesting leads. So focus, 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 and you get a better quality of output from here. So you guys who filled your sales navigator up with tons of saved accounts and tons of leads, you're throwing LinkedIn off the scent. They don't know who to send to you. So they're sending you from a mass homogenous group, people who they think, but the data that they're working with is so big, it's not focused enough to get the quality that you want. So this is really important, really, really important. So do pay attention to this. Yeah. Now, so there's a whole host of other things I can show you on the breadcrumbs piece, but I'll just give you an example. And does anybody want to be a volunteer? Gloria, can I pick on you for a second? Is that all right? Gloria, just let me know in the chat. I want to show you some things, breadcrumbs that could help you. So Gloria, just let me know if I'm okay to just come onto your profile. Sales Navigator, that Sales Navigator there is core. No, sorry, it's advanced. It's about 70, 80 pounds a month. It might be a little bit more now, but it's worth it for the quality you get out. So instead of spending all this time on the mass, you do quality on a few, a smaller number, and you get better results. So it's about, and big companies, by the way, are leveraging this kind of intent data now to do business. It's becoming the norm. So if you're a small business, it might seem like a lot of money, $90 or whatever it is, $100. But actually the results out, if it improves your success rate and you get one more new client a month, it's more than paid for itself. So Gloria's just said kindly, I can use her profile. Was it Gloria or Gaynor? Gloria Manchester. There she is. So here's Gloria. Let me just move my live thing. Right now, I want to talk about breadcrumbs a little bit more. So breadcrumbs is basically the activity of Gloria, right? So when you're prospecting, one of the things you can do is you can see, if you go onto LinkedIn profile, you've got posts. So I can see Gloria posted this 6 days ago, and I can see that what Gloria's posting, right? And if you look at my post from earlier this afternoon, I explain and break down this process in detail in some swipe files. So you go check it. You can have a look. You can save it on LinkedIn as well on my profile. But one of the things that Gloria does, sorry, Gloria, you might hate me for this. One of the things that Gloria does is when she goes onto, yes, Carla, when she goes onto LinkedIn, she leaves breadcrumbs of what she's been up to. So when I go on activity, I can see Gloria has commented on this, and I can see the comment was a minute ago. And I can see all the way through, and I can go back and see what Gloria's been up to. So I can see what Gloria's interested in. I can see what Gloria's sharing. I can see who Gloria's commented in. And I can also see what Gloria's personality is like by how she talks, how she engages with people. So when I'm starting to engage, I can see how Gloria communicates. And I can frame that when I decide to outreach, when I decide to engage. And so this is a really simple way to understand a prospect better by looking at their activity. But also I can see when Gloria was last online, because I can see when she last commented, when she last liked, when she last posted, which helps me tailor the message. Now, I've got one more thing I want to share with you, but somebody's just asked me to share my email address. So, I'll need to catch up. So law 7, curiosity creates conversation. So this is really simple. It's about, instead of in your messaging, just fly out pitching, it's about focusing in on what's the pains and goals that they want to achieve and using them in the message instead of talking about yourself, saying, actually, are you a coach or a consultant? I'd love to have a chat with you because I can help you build systematic lead generation into your business without ever sending a cold pitch ever again. And you can attract enough leads that you'll never have to worry about it organically through LinkedIn and through content, and you'll never have to send a sales pitch. I actually do that, by the way. Then we got a course in February. We do that and teach you and implement it at the same time. I could talk to you about the pain and the goal and say, would you be open to talking more? And I just want to flick to LinkedIn, and then I want to show you something that will be helpful for you. Where is it? 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 LinkedIn. There we go. So earlier this afternoon, I put a post out, which is a base summary of what I'm talking about. So this PDF I put out earlier today, and it's a step-by-step of doing this without, not necessarily with Sales Navigator, but it's a step-by-step that you can copy and do this for yourself. So it's there 5 hours ago. Go have a look at it. If you click the expand like that, you can actually download it. But be nice to me. If you want it, go get it. But remember the gods, the social media gods. So give me a like and stuff like that would be nice. So there's a framework, and in there is a template message that you should not use word for word. You should use it as a brief framework to work on. So it's not word for word. Customize it, tweak it, make it you, but there's a framework in it that makes it work. So dead simple. You wouldn't do this cold. You'd warm up, you'd de-ice, you'd use the antifreeze beforehand, so it's more well received, right? And really simple, very simple. It's not perfect, but it's a framework you can build off of. So final thing, and then I'm going to do Q&A. I'll do Q&A just to say we do have a full course on this if you want it. There's a QR code there. We'll send a replay to people who ask for it. I'll put my email on screen somewhere. Email's on screen. If you want to check it out, you can do. That QR code is there if you want to buy it. But now I'm just going to do Q&A. So I'll maximize the screen. on my side so we can do questions. So you can ask anything about LinkedIn, anything you want, and I will answer any question. So any questions here. If I've missed anybody want to ask a question, you can ask anything you want. How come the chat was lively and I shut up and you all go quiet? Any questions? Wow, you're all quiet. We've got quite a lot of people on here on Facebook and LinkedIn. Any questions about LinkedIn, finding prospects? So Olivia's asked the question, how many calls should you be making daily? I would say it's not about calls. Think about it like this. You're interacting with prospects and you're arranging calls. If you're working on 25 prospects, you'll get 5 calls per week. Quality calls, not crap. Yeah, not crap. Why? Because you've done the prep work, you've been surgical. So the 25 people you're working on, you know they're the right fit. You know you've got a service offering for them. The question is, can you open up the opportunity and find it? Now, if you want to do more than 25, you could do, if you wanted to, you could do 60, 70, spend 2-3 hours a day, 60, 70. You don't have to spend that. You'll get quicker than that, of course. And you can get 10 calls, 15 calls booked. But we're talking quality here. We're not talking people coming on and going, well, I thought you're a nice person, so I thought I'd come on. Or they're a window cleaner and you're targeting CEOs. We're talking about people who have seen your profile. They're your targets. They understand about you because they've looked at your profile multiple times. If you've engaged with them, they've looked at your profile many times. Many times. They know who you are. They know what you do. They've had a bit of a relationship with you and they're agreeing to come to a call. You don't need to push them through the hoop of going, do you want to buy my stuff? Well, they don't know anything about it yet. And you want to be controlling the communication of what you do. You don't want them to be making it up off a DM or interpreting it off a DM. Do you recommend a methodology to migrate my surgical to a CRM? Victor, good point. I have a little strategy for that because some people find, I'll just switch my screen. Some people find that actually when you're using the CRM, you can get lost in it. So what we do is we have a little spreadsheet called the social selling tracker. I'll just put it on screen here. You can have a copy of it if you want. Drop us an email. We'll send it to you. And you store them in here, work on them until you get to the point of we've got the meeting booked and move them to your CRM at that point. Because otherwise what happens is you start filling up your CRM with people and then you're like, who was that again? Who was that again? This is like a list of people I'm working on this week. And once they get to a certain stage, I've got my meeting in the diary, I put them in the CRM. Yeah. So Gaynor said, I need to speak to someone as his account on LinkedIn. He has not posted for ages on his account. I don't know how to start the call. I think Gaynor, I'm not sure whether you're talking about a prospect or a member of staff, but if they're not active on the platform, you can do what's called a Hail Mary, which is a straight connection request, but the success rate of that is anywhere between 12 and 20% acceptance rate. Then it's about how well your message is crafted and the timing of your message. When you do the relationship game, focus on the people who are on the platform and active on the platform, your success rate is way higher. If they're a zombie, it's a Hail Mary, which then comes down to your skill in writing a sales message in the DMs, or it comes down to the timing of when you send the message. Messages are very good in an evening, by the way. It's better in an evening to get responses or late afternoon. The other thing I would say is you can weave email and phone calls in with LinkedIn, but be careful about how you do it. If you just connect and call, which some people do, it's really poor. It's like, it's no different. If you interact, and then call, you get a more positive response. If you interact, and then email, you get a more positive response. The more interactions to break down and build the relationship, break down the barriers, the easier the email is, the easier the call is. Gainer, I will accept. Obviously, I'm live on the call at the moment, so I can't accept connections requests at the moment. Yeah. So, Ashley, my first message to a prospect, my first message that I send is, thanks for connecting, name, hope all is good. That's it. That's my first message. And people usually reply, thanks, Dean. The goal of your messages is to get replies. It's better to get replies about nothing, so that down the road, when you do choose to outreach, that's a better option. My outreach message, I tend to use voice messages a lot on the LinkedIn app, and I will send a voice message and say, and I'll reference a conversation I've had in a chat, in a comments, and I'll say, look, I was stalking. I've actually said this because it's a bit more human. I was stalking your company in a good way, seeing what you're up to, and I spotted how you could be getting more deals and getting through to more of your decision makers on LinkedIn or on social. I wanted to show you what I was looking at. Do you have 15 minutes? But I've done that off the back of lots of engagements. Buddy, would you? Well, it's a bit weird, isn't it? So if people look at your profile, you can send them a connection request, say, spotted you'd looked at my profile. Do you want to connect? Real low key. I think the more you go, oh, we're in the same industry, or I saw you're friends with this person. It all sounds a bit fake and weird. Just be straight. I saw you looked at my profile. Do you want to connect? Email address is hi@maverick.io. Hi@maverick.io. So look, I've got to wrap up because we've got a little bit over. 20 minutes over. Thank you for joining. If you want to do the Social Selling with Sales Navigator course, there's a QR code there. There's no pressure on us. It walks you through all these features, gives you the playbook of tutorials, template messages that you can adapt, not just copy and paste. Because if you just copy and paste, you're doing, but you can adapt. So we got about 13 or 14 different versions you can use. The training on Sales Navigator and step-by-step tutorials about how to make a search, how to save a lead, how to do this, all in there. Anyway, enough promo for me. Any other questions? Victor, you can, but you can download your connections using the data download. The trouble is it doesn't give you their URL. So when you want to go and kind of click through to look at them, you have to just put their name in and type their name in to do it. Any more questions? Going once. Thank you, Ashley. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'll go through the connection request in a minute. I'll accept you. If you haven't sent me one, please do. Please, if you got value from this, go and tell other people, share what we've done, post about it. That would be awesome. The algorithm gods, the social media gods on Mount Olympus need to let their sun shine on us. So we really appreciate, I know I'm joking, but I really do appreciate it if you do share, like, comment, and all that stuff. It does make a difference. So thank you. If you got value from this, come connect. If you got questions, drop me a line, drop an email. If you want a copy of that tracker, by the way, just drop us an email. We'll send it to you. The office is closed right now, but we'll send it to you tomorrow. Thank you so much. I'm back in a couple of weeks' time with another live session. So we'll share that with you. I'm also going to send you a weekly email, if that's all right. Please, if you get it and you don't want it, that's fine. But we send weekly tips. One email, weekly tips. We give it to you. If you want to use it, use it. If you want to share it, share it. But the idea is if we help you help 1 million businesses get clients, grow faster, spend less time selling, all of our client things will take care of itself. So that's how we work. So I'll send you that. If you don't want it, just click the button at the bottom. But the idea is we give you lots and lots of value, and you'll love us, share about us, and all of that fun stuff. And if you want the course, you know what to do. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. I'll send you the details of the next training session in the newsletter.
Dean's strategy helped me find clients. I created clients for my business with this program. It works.
My connections have grown, my reach has grown, my views have grown, and actually so has my business revenue. Over that 3-month period, I have actually signed up 3 new clients at a cost of £50,000. That's over just the 3-month period. So it's worth it.
Every single time there's a session, I just feel like it's just a golden moment. Every single session brings me something really new and really valuable, and I've started to attract high value client sales, which is wonderful, and it's really given our business a boost.
Dean Seddon and the Maverick team, what can I say? Apart from absolutely awesome.
The results have been amazing. We have had loads of incoming leads coming into our lead funnels and workflow processes on our website, and we've also built a really successful community around the content that we produce and push out into our LinkedIn channels. My team has also learned a lot from working with the team at Maverick, and they've also helped us really create fantastic events on LinkedIn.
I'm much more confident, and all of that, without a shadow of a doubt, is down to the work and the training and support I've had from Dean and the rest of his team as part of the Accelerator course.
In terms of the training, Maverick have been absolutely fantastic. They've been so supportive. They've talked me through all the stages of what you have to do, why you have to do it, the benefits of doing it the way they tell us to do it. And I've gone from being with no social media to being actually addicted, because I can see what this can do for lead generation, generating new business. It's just been incredible, and Maverick have been superb throughout the whole process.
The guys at Maverick, they've been great. Dean and his team, very knowledgeable, wealth of experience, and we've had quite a few one-to-ones now that really taught us the depths, the nooks and crannies of LinkedIn, which none of us would have known before, and I think we can continue to use that going forward. And it's been great so far, and I hope to continue to use it as well.